Hello, everyone, and welcome to another series of Microsoft's Public Safety and Justice Solutions Seminar Series. Today, this webinar is featuring 3AM Innovations on the topic of how agencies can reliably get access to important data to fuel their decisions before, during, and after an incident. As we know, when it comes to public safety, every second counts. Our communities rely on public agencies' abilities to effectively access information, communicate, and act in critical moments. Yet every day, our emergency responders are operating with outdated tools or unable to take advantage of modern sources of information. Now, more than ever, agencies need reliable access to important data to fuel their decisions before, during, and after an incident. In this webinar, we're going to hear from Chris Rall, who is the Director of Partnerships at 3AM Innovations, and he'll be talking about how they identify the roadblocks in emergency response and how those can affect a team's ability to respond effectively. How 3AM's FLORIAN solution integrates with Microsoft to provide critical incident information to all responders instantly and seamlessly. And more importantly, learn how public safety agencies are successfully optimising their decision-making processes with technology today. Thank you, Chris, for your time. We greatly appreciate it, particularly given we know that it's in your evening over there in the US.
Thank you.
Very keen to learn more about 3AM Innovations. So with that, I will hand it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you for the introduction, Nicole. And hi to the audience. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to give you an idea how you as an agency can improve the data process during an incident. So if we just take a look real quick at what we have prepared for today, I want to take you through a couple of key things for today. So I'm gonna provide you a quick overview of who 3M Innovations as a company is. We then gonna focus on what challenges we address, especially for public safety and justice. How does it work? So I'm gonna give you a quick demonstration how some of the challenges can be handled by technology. Then we're gonna focus a little bit on the business benefits and outcomes. So if you want to address those challenges, what are some of the gains that you can expect? And then we're gonna wrap it up with some case studies in the end. Again, like Nicole already mentioned, I oversee our global partnership program here at 3M Innovations. And what me personally drives every day is how we can help you as a public safety agency be more efficient on your day-to-day operations. Because if you think of your operations, your daily operations when you work on an incident is about saving life and ultimately make us as citizens more safe. So let's talk a little bit about 3M Innovations for a second. So 3M Innovations as a company was founded in 2014. We are headquartered in Buffalo, New York, in the US. And our mission statement as a company is protecting those who protect us. And this is going to be my slogan all around the seminar, because I really want to drive home the point how we can help you as an agency to ultimately protect your personnel that's working really hard every day to protect all of us. What we do is our technology focuses on accountability and decision support. So it is really challenging in today's world to comprehend and best use the information that's available to us as humans, as an organization. So I really want to talk about that throughout the seminar and give you an idea how technology can help address that. And again, finally, you see some of the investment partners that we work with. One thing that we are really proud of as an organization is that we have been a GovTech Top 100 company for 4 years in a row. So this is one of the leading standards in the US for technology companies that focus on government agencies. And the reason why I think this is important, because the business challenges for government are really unique. So it is really different to the private sector. As a government agency, you serve the public, and your goal is, as a technology provider, to support government agencies to then serve the public safety. So, and this is also our mission statement. So we as a company at 3AM, we are dedicated to support you as a government organization. And again, I'm going to give you a couple of examples today how we can achieve this together. Now, the first thing that I want to start with when it comes to challenges, I just want you to take a pause for a second and read the next slide and our statement together with me. So I give you a second. And I'm going to read this out to you first, and then we're going to break this into some more details. So what is the problem that we are addressing as an organization? So first responders operate in challenging environments where seconds matter to ensure public safety. A common problem is that access to relevant information is complicated, which burdens their ability to make fast decisions. And if I would need to compromise the whole content of this seminar today into one statement, it would be what you just heard. So Nicole already mentioned this in her introduction. Today, usually we have so much information in front of us, it's pretty hard to pick out the right information to make the right decision. And especially when it comes to public safety, the decisions that we make as command staff, as safety officers, as police or fire officers, those decisions can save lives. So the question that I want to answer today is, how can we as a technology partner of Microsoft help you address that problem? Which leads me to the solution statement. And I'm going to give you a second and then I'll read it out for you loud. 3M Innovation's mission is to ease your access to information by providing a decision support tool that aggregates all necessary information into a centralized, intuitive, and easy to comprehend experience. The key with this statement is really on the last piece of it. Our experience is that usually the hard part is not getting information, it is getting the information in a centralized fashion, and also how easy it is to consume that information. Because ultimately, if you are out there on the fire ground, if you are working on an incident, your least worry is the tools that you use. So the tools have the purpose to support you on your daily work, and this is really the idea that we follow with an intuitive technology product that we're going to see in a little bit. Now let's break down the problem or that I just addressed a little more. So when we talk to public safety agencies, and that's a worldwide pattern that we usually see that they primarily have two challenges that they usually have when we do our discovery and that we help them to address. Really, the first challenge is what I already mentioned. A lot of public safety and justice customers have an overwhelming amount of information. So the challenge with this is usually not that they don't get enough information. They have information from the dispatch center. They usually get information from their rostering tools. They get information from social media. They have all of those tools. So usually when we ask agencies, what's your biggest problem? It's never about the amount of information. It's about how that information is presented to the person in charge. So the key thing here is, how quickly can I navigate and process information that's presented to me? Because like Nicole said in the beginning, when it comes to public safety, we don't have a whole lot of time to make decisions. So we are in a stress situation. We only have minutes to make the right decision, sometimes only seconds. So it's really about, how can I bring this information into an easy to comprehend experience? And then the second challenge that we oftentimes face when we talk to agencies is that a lot of you out there have limited access to technical resources. We see this over and over again when we talk to departments. Some of them are really well aware of the first challenge. So they know that they have an overwhelming amount of information. They know that they need to change it, but they, number one, don't know how to troubleshoot that challenge. So they have a hard time in translating this into a potential solution. And the second thing is that they oftentimes just don't have the resources. So even some of the huge departments that we work with, they have limited tech resources at hand. And then what this often translates to is that they go into a wrong or into no purchase decision. So the challenge is just has been there for months, for years, and it's just accepted because they don't know how to change that. So I really want to give this audience today an idea, a future vision, how you can potentially start addressing that journey together with us. And again, it might not be an easy journey. It might also be inconvenient in the beginning to do a little deep dive into the information piece, but we have some really nice best practices, how you can also break it down in a really smooth transition without disrupting your current way, how you operate. Now, before we move into the demo, I just want to give you an idea. What are some of the use cases that you can address with our solution and where you can address those challenges? So One big use case that we see is in general in operations for fire department. And the two major things that we see is number one in wildland operations, and the second thing is in metro fire in metropolitan or urban areas. Another area that we see where this is a challenge is the whole water rescue and in general search and rescue actions. I'm going to talk a lot about large events today because what I personally like about large events is, and you probably can relate that you and your community probably have events, annual events, big happenings that you have to manage from a public safety standpoint. The reason why I like large events is usually the challenging piece with an event is that it brings together a lot of different departments. And same concept, if you have a lot of information at hand, and if you multiply different agencies responding to a large scale event, guess what? This is a multiplier when it comes to information that's available. And then the challenge that I just addressed might be even bigger because, again, we multiply the information that we have access to during an operation. Another use case is tactical operations for law enforcement, police, and SWAT teams, active shooting scenarios, mass evacuation, and also in correctional facilities where it's all about safety, both for the personnel and for the inmates. Now, with that being said, I want to now switch away for a second from the PowerPoint deck and just give you a quick overview how you can leverage our solution in a potential real-world scenario. Again, I drafted a demo scenario for today, but I think you're going to get a really good idea how you can use this in a live environment. So I'm just going to jump out of my presentation for a second. Here. All right. So we quickly switched from the PowerPoint presentation to our product. Just for your information, because I'm going to reference FLORIAN more often, our product's name is called FLORIAN. And the reason why it's called FLORIAN, it's named after Saint Florian, who's the saint who protects all firefighters. So this was born by a firefighter loss that we experienced in our community in Buffalo, and has since explored and grown as a whole platform that you can use for decision support for first responders all across the board. Now, the use case that I'm going to show you today in the demo is about the Melbourne Cricket Ground. Because what we all know currently, the rugby league the rugby season is on. And I got to admit, I had to do some research, but if you look at the MCG schedule right now, you're going to notice that there's almost every day a game. And as you know, the Melbourne Cricket Ground is right in the center of Melbourne. It's close to the city center. So it's going to be pretty busy for a lot of those games. And like I said, with a lot of those large events, there's an increased need for public safety because everyone wants to be safe. Everyone wants to have a good time, watch the game, go home and be safe. And obviously it's your community's responsibility to ensure that everything goes smoothly. Now, the use case that I'm going to show you now is exactly that. So let's say we have a rugby game tonight at the G. How can I, as a safety officer or a command person in charge, how can I use this application to make sure that my operation is safe? Now, the first thing that you'll notice here when you look at the application is that here on the right, you have an overview of different incidents going on. The reason why I start with this view is that FLORIAN is also scalable. So you might also use the application not only for a large event that's going on in Melbourne, you might also use it in parallel for some fire operations or law enforcement operations. And again, different departments can use it simultaneously, and then you're just going to work on the incident that you are ultimately responding to. If we now look at the last two ones, you see that I have one for the MCG. I also created a second one just to give you an idea for the Marvel Stadium that, again, sometimes you might even have two large events going on at the city at the same time. There might be a rugby game and there might be a concert going on. So this gives you, again, the idea of scalability and how much crowd and how much noisiness you might have in the city area within one particular night. So the first thing that I want to show you here is now before we jump into the incident, you have an option that you can either view or join the incident. What at first seems like a really small option is something that we see oftentimes. So if now I go in and join the incident, which is something that I'm going to do in just a minute, I'm going to be part of the operation and I'm going to see all the operation information that's distributed in FLORIAN. Now, if I just view the incident, I have nothing to do. I can keep my hands off the touch screen or the mouse, but I still see what's going on. And the reason why this has proven useful is you usually have incident commanders that are in charge of the operation, but you might also have a city official or a safety control center that still wants to monitor the incident. They just want to see what's going on without being actively participating. So this also gives you a good visual how you can, both as a commander in charge, you can join the incident, you can make tactical changes, but you can also just view the incident and give this to a city official to make sure that they know how the operation is going. Now, when we join the incident together, which is what we do next, the first thing you will see here is the incident details. And this is usually the first point where we pull in information into our application. Because I already mentioned in the beginning, having a proper decision support tool means that we aggregate all of the existing tools that you have, all of the information points, and bring it in one centralized view. And one common information piece that we get are dispatch notes. So here, this is just an example how dispatch notes can be displayed. So if I go in, I immediately see, okay, there was already an operational kickoff for today's event. I see that one unit arrived at the West Wing. And again, this just gives me continuous information of what's going on. I can also add remarks, and we also have some chat capabilities to communicate throughout the incident. And again, this whole experience can also be enriched with Microsoft Teams or other communication patterns to ensure that you communicate. Now, if we look at the incident, and I think this is really now the critical piece, we have a visual representation of the venue for tonight, which again is a G. The interesting piece is that I can have a visual of this particular location from different perspectives. So the first view you see here right now is what we call our terrain view, which is usually what the commanders in charge would use, because it gives you a good clean overview of the stadium itself. You see here on this view alone, it already gives me lots of insights. It gives me an overview of the stadium. I see that there are rail tracks right behind the stadium, which might be an important information in case of an emergency if we need to get people out. We know that there is Yara Park in front of the stadium, so I can also monitor that. But I can also further navigate out and also get a high-level understanding of all the surroundings. And this is all information that matters when I respond to a large-scale incident like an event. Now, an additional thing that we do is we can also aggregate multiple views into one single screen. So I can also go into our quadrant view. And the reason why this is powerful, I sometimes might want to get eyes on the actual incident from different perspectives. So now what this particular example shows me is, again, this is my live incident view together with the responders that we are tracking on the ground. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. I also pull in a view from Google Street View. In this particular view, it gives me a visual inside the stadium, which again might also be relevant for me to see exit points, etc. And here I also have a satellite view, which again is another great visual that just gives me an idea of the surroundings. I can even go down and see this the arena itself, where the parking lots are. And again, you might be from a Melbourne area and you might now say, I know all of that information already because I've been to this place 100 times. But reality is that oftentimes for those large scale events, you pull in a lot of first responders that are not from this district. So talking about mutual aid, you might have an outside district responding to this incident, or you might have new recruits that are not familiar with the area. And all of this gives them insights that make them feel more comfortable and ultimately for the person in command, ultimately call the right shots. Now, if we now focus a little bit on the command view here, there is obviously a number of things that you can do to give you a great and intuitive experience. So the first thing you'll notice here is that there are a lot of units that are represented in here. So if you take a look at the personnel overview, these are all the units that we are currently tracking during this incident. And when we talk about tracking, we can track personnel, responders, we can track vehicles, we can even track resources, because the idea is also to give you the information, to give you the insights, what you have deployed during an incident, and ultimately protect this personnel, vehicles, and resources. So we are device agnostic, so we just need a GPS-enabled device to represent that person on the map. And then you see, again, those are static units because I'm currently not in Melbourne, but you get the idea. Now I can see, in combination with the stadium data, what are my responding units and what's their current position. And in this particular example, I used a large scale event because you see the first responders might not only cover certain areas of the stadium, they might also want to cover a part of the Yara Park, because again, there's going to be a lot of traffic from the city center coming into the stadium to watch the game. Another thing that we do is, I mentioned in my introduction, in order to make the right decisions with the information that you have at your fingertips, this information needs to be easy to comprehend. And you see, it might, on a large scale event, the information flow might get very busy fairly soon, because again, you might have hundreds of responders that are being represented on this map. The great thing with Florian is that we give you lots of options to still make this an easy experience. The first thing you see here is I can just say I roll up certain first responders, and what you'll immediately see is now they disappear on the map. I still keep track of them. I still can see their full record, but I just don't not focus on them, because as person in charge, I might only want to focus on those two officers on the right for whatever reasons. But I can easily expand it out again and see all of the units. Another thing that you see is, for example, with this group here, with the IRT7 team, there is a 4 here, which shows me actually this team consists of 7 different officers, but I'm currently only focusing on one person to not make the map experience too busy. Same concept. If now I'm listening to the radio, I see that something might not be accurate with this team, I can just easily expand it out, and guess what? Suddenly you see where all of those units are positioned in the map. And this is to give you an idea to follow that concept. While all of the information is accessible and available in the application, it is your call. You can easily roll it up, expand it, or just reduce it back to only one piece. And all of that in a touch-friendly experience. So I'm doing this on my computer right now, but most of the commanders that we work with, and you're gonna see this when we go through the case studies, they usually would use a tablet. They just have this on a tablet and they make all the information in there. And the last piece that you notice here is that we can also color code units. So again, the goal of this is to help you really segregate different units to stay on track and support the right units. Now, another thing you'll notice here is we can not only track personnel, we can also add additional map layers to the map experience. And the reason why I'm saying this is usually with those incidents are pretty dynamic. So there might be changes, you might want to make annotations, you might distribute information. So the great thing here is what we've done on this particular one, you see that I already color coded 2 areas that are critical for this incident. So there's one EMS area right in front of the entrance, because the EMS team has instructions. If something goes wrong, just bring out that person and bring it into the EMS area, and we make sure that they stay safe. And I also color coded here a restricted area where the command post is. So this is an area that is just single for the person in charge. And what I can also do, I can also set notifications for those geofenced areas. So I can say if now an additional responder enters the restricted area, I want to get a notification, etc. So, but this gives you an idea how you can really, in an intuitive experience, easily add information or process new information as it happens. You see here also what I did as person in charge. I just marked the preferred exit path. So let's say in case of an emergency, there needs to be an evacuation of the stadium. I immediately see, okay, this is where all the people are going to get out. So that means I always need to make sure that that exit path is covered by someone from my department. Now, this gives you a quick overview, and I don't want to go too much into the detail, but I think it gives you an idea how you can easily provide a single experience. The last thing that I want to show you in this particular demo is whenever we work on an incident, this incident is going to be remain available in the application. And the whole idea is to give you a repository of incident data. Because what we believe is we want to give you a scalable framework platform that you can also reuse for multiple incidents. To give you an idea, in the stadium scenario, there's likely going to be events throughout the year all the time. But we want to give you an option to store all of those incidents. And in case there was a security breach or something that you want to debrief, or maybe you just want to use this to train your security staff or your personnel, you can just easily access a whole repository of incident data and again review real-time operations with the team. And we have seen that this provides really great value to teams because this goes beyond only having standard operating procedures. So I already closed the application here. I just jump back to the presentation for a second. So again, this was a quick overview from a large-scale events. Let's talk a little bit about the business benefits and also some real-world scenarios that we have seen. So before we do this, and again, I go over this real quick. So some key capabilities that I gave you a quick overview was the real-time tracking of vehicles and personnel, the geofencing and whiteboarding that you can use to put additional information on top of the map, and the after-action review. There is some additional capabilities that we didn't go into today, but again, if you want to review this at the end, or if you want to have a more in-depth conversation, feel free to reach out to us. One key capability that I want to point out here is that we have an open API to embed third-party information. Again, I mentioned we are all about centralizing information. So if you tell us you already have one thing, existing GIS map layers, or maybe some, in the case of a stadium, maybe you already have some exit information about the building. We can feed all of that into FLORIAN to make sure that you have this in one single experience. Now, why is what we do native in Microsoft? Why are we speaking on this webinar today? First off, Microsoft helps us to bring this scalable platform and deliver this on a government-grade Azure environment. So Azure is our hosting platform. So if you want to spin up FLORIAN, we're just gonna spin you up in an Azure instance that is government-grade. The second piece that we do, and we haven't seen this in the demo today, but it has proven really, really valuable, is that we leverage cognitive services by Microsoft. So FLORIAN supports AI for speech recognition. So if you want to use this for incident data, you can define certain call signals. One example is in the fire environment, when they call out a mayday, the device is proactively going to listen to the call signal and it's going to represent that on a map. And that's, again, another proactive approach to get information that I can even just call out certain information pieces and the person in charge is going to see that something is going on. Or if there's an active shooting scenario, there can be a gunman call out and we're going to immediately represent where that gunman showed out was called out on the map. We leverage Microsoft Maps or Bing Maps along with other map layers. So when we looked at the quadrants, we saw an aggregation of multiple map views, including Google and Microsoft. And again, we are currently in a planning phase to integrate with both Teams and Azure Communication Services, because a lot of the departments that we work with have an enhanced request to enrich our communication patterns. And obviously, Teams and ACS are great tools to provide you the best possible communication during an incident. And we currently participate on two strategic activities with Microsoft. We are part of their tactical vehicle program, which is a program that Microsoft has put together to have the whole command experience in one single vehicle. And for those of you who might be at FDIC this year, we're going to host the fire station of the future. The reason why this is important, because this really shows you how we, together with Microsoft, envision future technology for government agencies, because a lot of the things that you saw today are available as we speak. It's just getting you part of that transition and help you on that journey that I mentioned in the beginning, where you might not have the right toolbox available today to address the challenge, but you definitely have a need of having a more digital experience for your future state. in your agency. So what are some of the business benefits that you can achieve with something like our product? Now, the first thing that I keep repeating, but I think it's the key point here, is we deliver you a decision support system. So it's about giving you the right information to the right person at the right time when they most need it. We also offer an adaptive platform. So we really believe in that single pane of glass that our goal is not to throw away what you use today. Our goal is to complement existing technology and feed it into in your future experience. We are device agnostic, which follows the adaptive approach that for tracking first responders, we just need a GPS-enabled device. So usually when we start working with government agencies, we just ask what they have available, if they have preferred devices, and we just leverage what already is out there to, again, lower the barrier of entry. And ultimately, it's all about ease of use. So we are aware that this is just a tool of your daily work, but your job when you respond to an incident is to save lives. It's your job is not to operate technology as a main purpose. This is why we really believe in that tablet experience, because you can just use the tablet. You can put it in the fire apparatus or in the patrol car. You can look at it, you can take it with you, and you take it out when you need the right information at the right time. But it's just easy to use. Now, let's talk about some of the outcomes that we have seen before I then give you some real-world examples where this has been used by different agencies. Now, the first thing is enhanced safety for responding personnel. So by giving you as command center, safety officer, person in charge, information, the right information, and also the information where the personnel is, you help them be more safe. So if there is doing a wildfire operation, if you might lose a person or you lose communication with a person, you can still find out his last known position, his current position. So when you send out a team or a rescue team to find him, you have a much higher chance of getting it out quicker, because again, minutes matter, because his life might be at risk. We also help you to have enhanced safety in correction facilities by knowing where the officers are within the correction facility. And we ultimately help to provide more safety for citizens and the public. Best example, the large-scale event that we've just seen. Yes, we want to provide the responding units, but we want to make sure that all of those thousands, 10,000s of people that come to that event, that just go there to have a great night, that everyone stays safe. And Florian just gives you peace of mind that you know you have one tool. It might be a combination of multiple tools, but it might be one tool that helps you have the right information to best serve the public. Another goal that we have is we give you a reliable foundation for both current and future decision support. I've been talking a lot about how we aggregate existing technology, because we want to start this journey with you today, but also give you a foundation that can grow with you with the amount of information that you have access to. So this is why we really believe also in the open API and in the partnership with Microsoft, because this helps you to also grow with us, just feed in more information and use this at scale for the future. And then the last point is here. Our goal is to give you a scalable framework to support mutual aid, interoperability, and cross-agency communication. This is a key challenge that we have with a lot of cities, municipalities, and even on the state level, is that oftentimes, especially fire and EMS and law enforcement, still operate really siloed from each other. And what there are still many incidents where it requires interoperability, like the large scale events where both agencies respond to the same information. So we really believe in that single experience where at a future state, both agencies can look at the same information in Florian and they have the same information. So when they cross communicate, they can make the right decision based on the same information and not having isolated information solutions throughout different departments. Now, let's talk a little bit about some use cases. So what are some of the projects that we have successfully done as a company, and what are some of the use cases that you might be able to relate to as an agency in your community. Now let's start with large events, which was the use case that I gave you when we saw the demonstration. So as you know, I'm in the US, I'm in Miami, Florida, and as you probably know, in the US, football is a pretty big thing. And if you think about the football season, it's fairly short. It usually starts in August and only runs until February. But most of those football events are large-scale events with a lot of people. Now, the two biggest Super Bowl events in the US are the Super Bowl, which is, by the way, probably the largest sport event in the world. And the second largest is the Pro Bowl, which is, for those of you who prefer NBA, it's like the All-Star game. So the best players of the AFL and NFL play against each other prior to the Super Bowl. So what we did is last year, we supported both the Pro Bowl and the Super Bowl with our product. So the Pro Bowl was in Las Vegas in Allegiant Stadium. Again, a lot of people. And you see here on this particular screenshot that they used our application to track all the first responders in real time to make sure everyone stays safe. So this is one example how you can use this as a large scale event. And this was a picture of the command post where again, the application was just running on a tablet with all the insights on it. Same concept with a Super Bowl, another stadium. This was in SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Same concept. We equipped all of the first responders with devices that we tracked, and we brought all of that information into a single experience on the tablet. And what I love about this is talking about a scalable framework. Those events by themselves were in completely different areas. One was in Las Vegas, one was in Los Angeles. They were in two separate stadiums, Allegiant Stadium and SoFi Stadium. But ultimately, Florian, if you look at the solution set, we were able to use that scalable framework on two very different events for the same purpose. And this is also what I want to encourage you if you envision this journey. Just don't think of this as a one-off thing for an event. Think of it, okay, what are some of the major happenings that I have in my community, in my city, and how can this potentially help me being a repetitive tool that I can use to best equip my responding staff? And then I got 3 additional events that we recently did. One was the Indy 500 race in Indianapolis. We did a half marathon with Disney World, and we did the Boston Marathon, which is one of the most prestigious marathons in the world. But same concept. Think of it an race in Indianapolis on a racetrack versus a football game in a stadium. Again, two very different use cases from an event standpoint, but both have the same need, that there is an increased number of people there, and that we have an increased need for public safety. The second use case that I want to share with you, and I want to start this with a quote, and I'm going to read this out loud and then we go into the details. The newest generation of firefighters, they are growing up with devices in their hands. Whether it's a cellular phone or a tablet, they are used to be able to have real-time access to information. So a firefighter being able to get these data points, be able to aggregate them, to display the information they need at the right time, allows them to make better actionable decisions. And I could not have made a better quote, but this was coming from Dan Muncy, who's a fire chief of San Bernardino County. So we worked with them, and the reason why this is such a great quote, because he realized the value of having all of the information available. And San Bernardino County is the biggest county in the US when it comes to wildfire operations. So how they leveraged Florian, to give you a couple of examples, they used the digital whiteboarding for example, for dozer lines or for fire lines for the wildfire. They use the digital whiteboarding for water drops. So if they need an airplane to drop water, they can also represent that on a map. They heavily use the video drop. So what they do is, as you come closer to the fire line, the responders can take a video and drop that on a map, which gives them a visual of the surroundings. We obviously track the responding personnel. They heavily use the after action review for debriefing and training drills. And what was really key for them is that our application offers offline capability, because especially in those wildland operations where you have a widespread operation, sometimes communications and connectivity might be a tough undergoing. So we can also go offline. We can still continue to track, gather all the information, and once you regain connectivity, you're just gonna get an update in the application. And then really the last use case that I want to share with you in this seminar today is a metropolitan fire. So in a large scale city of Boston in the US. Again, what they do, they use our application and route. So this is when the apparatus, the fire truck leaves the station until they get to the incident. And like Nicole said in the beginning, this is really just a couple of minutes that they have to get all of the information that they need before they need to get off the truck and obviously start fighting the fire. Now, the key capabilities that are important for them is, again, the digital whiteboarding, because it gives them an option to add information as the fire evolves. In their case, the vehicle tracking to see where the apparatus is, how close the apparatus is to the actual structural fire. Same with the video drop. So the first two engine can take a visual on the fire and share that video with other responding vehicles. And also the after action review, so they can take previous incident data and use this for debriefing sessions, training drills for new recruits, etc. So I hope those were 3 helpful scenarios to give you an idea how you can bring the information that you have at your fingertips today to life in very different scenarios. So with that being said, that's pretty much all of the things that I wanted to share with you today in this seminar. Thank you for your attention, and giving it back to you, Nicole.
Thank you so much, Chris. Fantastic to see Florian in action. Really appreciate you bringing the context and the scenarios relative to Australian, New Zealand markets as well. I'm sure there are quite a few of us that are watching this video at the moment, this recording, that have questions and want to learn more about 3AM and innovation and their solutions, particularly Florian and what you've seen today. So with that, you'll see on the screen both Chris's details and my details. So please feel free to reach out to either one of us, and we'll be happy to make the answer any questions you may have, or make the necessary connections in regards to what your specific agency is requiring. So with that, I will say thank you for your time today. Stay safe and stay well, and we look forward to catching up with you next time. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.